Hello, lovely people. Welcome to part 2 of my Eastern Dragon Crochet tutorial. So here you can see the finished jade colored dragon. She still needs a name, as does the yellow one. So if you have any suggestions, I would say this is definitely a water dragon, the yellow one. Seems to be a fire dragon. So if you have any great names for them, please let me know in the comments. I know it's the year of the wood dragon, but somehow they turned into fire and water dragons. And so if you didn't see part 1 yet, you can find it in the description box. I'll link to it there. In that part, we crochet the head and the body, and in this part we get to crochet all these details and assemble our dragons. I'm very excited to share this part with you. So without further ado, let's get started. Now let's crochet the ears next. For this we need the main color again. And we start with 7 chains. Then we make a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. Then a single crochet in the next chain, a half double crochet in the next chain, then a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains, and then a single crochet in the last chain. And then we fasten off with a long enough yarn end to stitch the ear on. And that's it. So then we can repeat all of these steps to crochet the second ear. Now let's crochet the horns. I'm making them in white, so use whatever color you would like the horns to be, and then we start with 12 chains. Then in the second chain from the hook, we make a slip stitch. In the next chain, we make a single crochet. In the next chain, a half double crochet. And then in the remaining 8 chains, we make 1 double crochet each. And that's it. Now we fasten off, leaving a long yarn end, maybe 30 centimeters, 12 inches. Then we thread the long yarn end on our yarn needle, and with the wrong side facing up, so this is the right side and this is the wrong side, we sew both sides of this shape together into a horn. And so we go through the base chain here and through the top of the stitch, and this way we whip stitch each stitch together from its base to its top. So now going through the next double crochet through the base and the top. And moving up through each stitch. So we have one loop on the hook here for the chain, and then the 2 loops of the top of the stitch, the V shape. Not on the hook, on the needle, of course. And then I'm only doing one more. So I leave the slip stitch in the single crochet, or I might actually do the single crochet as well. But you don't need to stitch the slip stitch here in the top together. So now I'm going to pull that a bit and now go through it all back to the base of the horn so that I can use this yarn end to sew the horn on later. So I'm just trying to get the needle through the middle here, through the center of the horn. And that's it. So you can by pulling this yarn, you can actually shape the horn a little bit differently and give it a curl here if you like. So depending on how you want the horn to look, you can increase the tension here in this yarn before sewing on the horns. And so now you can repeat all of these steps to make the other horn. So let's crochet the parts of the mouth. And so I'm starting with the tongue, using red for it. And I make a little loop on my hook to make 13 chains. And as with the whiskers, you can actually make the tongue much longer if you like. So with the 13 chains, it turns out like this, more or less. And so then I make a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then just single crochet in all remaining chains. So in the end I'll have 12 single crochet. And that's it. So fasten off. And then we can set it aside for later. So now let's crochet the gums. I'm using this scarlet color for the gums. And so here we start with 4 chains. And then we make 3 single crochets starting in the second chain. Then we chain and turn, and in row 2 we do the same, 3 single crochet, chain and turn, and we repeat this for the next 7 rows, just 3 single crochet, and 1 turning chain. So you can pause the video here and hit play once your 9 rows of 3 single crochet are complete. So these are 9 rows of 3 single crochet done. Now I'm switching to the 2mm or a 0 hook, and I join the white yarn here. So I just pull a loop through this dark red loop, And now I fasten off the red yarn, and I'm leaving a long yarn end for sewing because we will use this scarlet colored yarn to sew the teeth and gums into the mouth later on, and we need a quite long yarn end for this, so I'm leaving at least, well, I think I needed 50 centimeters or 20 inches with the first dragon. And so we can tie the yarn ends together now just to secure the white yarn. I only make one knot because later it will be easier to sew the gums in when there isn't such a big knot there. So now we continue with white and the 2mm hook. And so we start crocheting in the side of each row here. So the first stitch goes in here where the third single crochet went, but from the side, and here we make a slip stitch. We want the teeth to look as neat as possible, so I'm trying to make small stitches, and that's why we use the smaller hook size. So now we make 2 chains and a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. And then we make a slip stitch in the same stitch that we already made our first slip stitch in. And this is the first tooth done. Now we slip stitch in the next side of the, or in the side of the next row here. These slip stitches that go in the side of the rows, those we don't want to be too tight because they will shrink the gums, and we want them to be this very size here if possible. Then we make another slip stitch in the next spot here. And here we make 2 chains again. And a slip stitch in the second chain. And then a slip stitch in the same stitch. That's the second tooth done. Now we have 4 slip stitches in the side of the gums. So these don't need to be as tight. There's the smaller teeth in between the big fangs. Now we have 3 chains. And 2 slip stitches starting in the second chain. And a slip stitch in the same spot. Then we slip stitch in the next spot here. Here we have 2 chains, a slip stitch in the second chain, and a slip stitch in the same spot. Now we have 3 slip stitches in the other side of the base chains. So one goes in here, and the next one in here, and the next one in there. Now we'll crochet in the other side of the rows. So we start with a slip stitch in here, in the next side of the row. Then we make 2 chains and a slip stitch in the second chain, and a slip stitch in the same spot. Let's try that again. Then we slip stitch in the next spot here. And then we have 3 chains and 2 slip stitches. And a slip stitch in the same spot. Then we have 4 slip stitches. And then 2 chains, a slip stitch in the second chain, a slip stitch in the same spot, a slip stitch in the next one, and a slip stitch in the next one. Then we have 2 chains and a slip stitch in the second chain and a slip stitch in the same spot. And now we finish with 3 slip stitches in these 3 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3. So here we can fasten off. And now we make an invisible finish, so we need our yarn needle. And then we go through this first slip stitch here. And then we go through the in between the front and back loop of the last slip stitch that we made. So in this case, we actually cheated in another stitch, but that's okay. Now I'll just go through, make another stitch here. And then we can tie these 2 white yarn ends together. And let's see, if it's not too bulky, we can make a double knot. Try to make it very tight, because later when sewing on the gums, we don't want there to be a big knot. That makes everything look uneven. So we need this long yarn end later, but we can cut the other yarn ends short, but long enough so that we can later hide them when we do the assembly. And so now we can attach the tongue. And so these longer teeth here, they are in the upper jaw. And so we lay this in front of us with the longer teeth, the side with the longer teeth being up and the 2 shorter teeth being at the bottom, because we want our tongue to face up, like the right side of our work. This side should be facing up and the wrong side should be facing down. So we want to attach it this way. And so we go through row 5, which is the center row of the 9. Just go through one side here, and then I thread the other end of the tongue on my yarn needle, and go through the other side of row 5. So now the right side of the tongue is facing up. And all we need to do is tie these ends together, the yarn ends for the tongue. And that's it. So now we can cut the ends short and set this part aside for later when we assemble the head. So let's crochet the beard and mane now. And just to help you pick the right colors for this, the ones that you want your dragon to have, the first part that we will now crochet is the beard and this underlayer of the mane. Everything that's orange here, that's what we will crochet first. And the second part of the mane, we will crochet this top layer here, which is red for this dragon. Just so you know what to start with, we start with this part that is orange here. So choose whichever color you want this part to be. I'm going for this, I can't remember the shade name, but like a teal color. And so we begin with 48 chains. So I'm using the 2.5 millimeter hook again. I'm using it for everything except the teeth. So 48 chains. So these are my 48 chains. Now we will make 7 slip stitches starting in the second chain from our hook. And the same goes as for the whiskers. We try not to make them too tight, the slip stitches, so that we have a straight beard strand, for lack of better term for this. Now we make 7 chains. And 6 slip stitches starting in the second chain. Then we make a slip stitch in the next base chain here. And then we have 6 chains. And 5 slip stitches. And a slip stitch in the next base chain here. Then we have 4 single crochet in the next base chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 double crochet in the next chains. Now we have 3 chains and 2 slip stitches, and then a double crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 4 chains and 3 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. And then 5 chains and 4 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next chain. Then we have 6 chains and 5 slip stitches. and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 5 chains and 4 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then 4 chains and 3 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 7 chains and 6 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Next we have 9 chains and 8 slip stitches. And a double crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 11 chains and 10 slip stitches. And a double crochet in the next base chain. So this is the halfway point. Now we repeat all of this in reverse order. So again, 11 chains and 10 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 9 chains and 8 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next space chain. Then we have 7 chains and 6 slip stitches. And a double crochet in the next space chain. Then we have 4 chains and 3 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then 5 chains and 4 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then 6 chains and 5 slip stitches. And a double crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 5 chains and 4 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. And then we have 4 chains and 3 slip stitches, and a double crochet in the next base chain. Then 3 chains and 2 slip stitches, a double crochet in the next base chain. Now we have 2 more double crochet, 1 in each of the next 2 chains, and then 4 single crochet, 1 in each of the next 4 chains, then we have 6 chains and 5 slip stitches, and a slip stitch in the next base chain. Then we have 7 chains and 6 slip stitches, and a slip stitch in the next base chain. And actually we have 6 slip stitches, in all remaining chains. So altogether 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, that's right. So just 7 slip stitches in the remaining chains. And so now we will fasten off, leaving a long yarn end for sewing, leaving like 30 centimeters, 12 inches. We'll mainly use the other color to sew this part on, so it doesn't need to be extra long. So let's just see what we just made here. This is what it looks like. So this here is what's going to be the beard, and this is going to be the mane. So now we will crochet the top layer of the mane. And for this I'm using the silvery green color again, or green silvery color. And here we make 23 chains. By the way, feel free to turn the sound off if you don't want to hear me repeating all of these instructions. That's why I put them in written form up there as well, so that you can listen to some nice music instead if you prefer. So once you have your 23 chains, we start with a single crochet in the second chain and another one in the next chain. Then we make 3 chains and 2 slip stitches and a single crochet in the next base chain. Then we make 4 chains and 3 slip stitches and a single crochet in the next base chain. Then 5 chains and 4 slip stitches and a single crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 6 chains and 5 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 5 chains and 4 slip stitches. And 4 chains. Oh, and this single crochet in the next base chain. Then 4 chains and 3 slip stitches. and a single crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 7 chains and 6 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain. Then 9 chains and 8 slip stitches. And single crochet in the next base chain, then 11 chains and 10 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain. So that's our halfway point. So now we repeat all of this in reverse order. So 11 chains and 10 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain, then 9 chains and 8 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain, then 7 chains and 6 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain. Then we have 4 chains and 3 slip stitches. And a single crochet in the next base chain. Then 5 chains and 4 slip stitches, and a single crochet in the next base chain. Now we have 6 chains and 5 slip stitches, and a single crochet in the next base chain, then 5 chains, and a single crochet in the next base chain, then 4 chains and 3 slip stitches, sorry, and a single crochet in the next base chain, then 3 chains and 2 slip stitches, and here we have 2 single crochet in the next base chains, and then 3 single crochet in this last base chain here. So now we don't fasten off because we will crochet in the other side of the chains to connect this upper layer of the main with the lower main. So now we have this top layer of the main and the bottom layer of the main that's connected to the beard, and we will crochet the 2 parts together now. And to do that, we first find the first double crochet from the right side, and then we place a stitch marker in the base of that double crochet. So this is the one here. You can tell by the length of the stitch. So this was the last single crochet, and then this the first double crochet from the right side, the side of the beard. And then on the other side, we find the first double crochet from the left side, which is this one here. So again, this is the last single crochet, and this is the first double crochet from the left side, the side of the beard. So we place another stitch marker in the base of that. And now we know where to start connecting the 2. So we can pin both together. So we will start connecting the 2 here. I'm not going to pin this because that's where we start, but I'm going to pin these 2 together. So this the base of the last stitch that we have here is what I pinned together with the first double crochet on this side so that we know which stitches to crochet together. So on the top layer here, I start by making a 4th single crochet in the same spot, in the same chain, and at the same time I go through the base of this last or first double crochet where I placed the stitch marker. So now I can remove it. So now we can crochet the 2 layers together, and here we make a single crochet. Now we go through the next base chain from the other side, opposite of this single crochet stitch here, and also go through the next base chain of the bottom layer so that we continue crocheting both together. And here we have a half double crochet, so apologies, I should have made a yarn over first and then go through both layers. So here we have a half double crochet, and next we have a double crochet, so we do a yarn over again and go through the next base chain from the other side through both layers and double crochet. Next we have a half double crochet again, so we go through the next base chain of both layers and half double crochet, and we repeat a series of stitches 4 more times, 5 times altogether. So next we have a single crochet again, and we crochet in each base chain from the other side, both layers together. So that was the single crochet, and then we have a half double crochet again, and we have a double crochet, and a half double crochet again. And again we repeat this series starting with a single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and half double. So this is how it looks from the other side. And a single crochet, half double, double, half double, single, half double, double, half double, so that's looking good from the other side. I just want to make sure that I made one stitch in each of these chains on the back side as well. So now we have 2 stitches left, and we finish with 2 single crochet. And then we fasten off, leaving a long yarn end for sewing. This should be enough. So this is the mane done and the beard. So we can set this part aside for when we're ready to assemble. So let's crochet the underbelly. For this, I'm using this greenish gray shade. So use any color that you would like the underbelly to be. And then we start with 4 chains. And then we make 3 single crochets starting in the 2nd chain. That's row 1 done. We just chain and turn. And now we make 87 more rows like this, so that we have a total of 88 rows of 3 single crochet. So just 3 single crochet, chain and turn, and repeat this until you have 88 rows. Now the 88 rows of 3 single crochet are done. So let's crochet the rest together in row 89. First I need to make a chain and turn my work. Then in row 89 we make 1 single crochet, and then we skip the next stitch and single crochet in the last stitch here, and chain and turn. Now we have 6 rows, rows 92, 95 of 2 single crochet. So here we make 2 single crochet, chain and turn. That was 1 row, 2 single crochet, chain and turn. That's 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows, and that was the 6th row. Now in row 96 we skip the first stitch and single crochet in the second, chain and turn, and in row 97 and 98 we single crochet in the last stitch, in the last and only stitch, chain and turn, and row 98 just 1 single crochet. So now we have this long piece here, and now we crochet in the side of each row. So we make 98 single crochet along the side here. And so let me just show you the beginning. The first single crochet goes in the very same spot that I just crocheted in. And then here where you see this gap, that's where the next one goes. And then here we have the next one. The next one goes here. It's 4. Next one. 5. 6. 7. 8. Sometimes I just give it a little pull. 9. 10. 11. And this way we continue making 1 single crochet in the side of each row all the way to this end. So you can pause the video here and crochet this part in your own time. Once you reach the other side, you can go ahead and crochet in the other side of the 3 base chains here. So you'll make 1 single crochet in here, 1 in here, and then 1 in the last chain. And then we crochet in the other side of each row. So just make another single crochet in the same spot, and then as we did on the other side, we just go through each gap here, the side of each row, and make 1 single crochet, so that we'll have 98 on this side as well. Doesn't matter if it turns out to be 97 or 99, don't worry too much about that. So you can pause the video here and play it once you crocheted along this side as well. Now, once you crocheted all along the other side of the underbelly, you can go ahead and fasten off with a long yarn end. Now here it depends, I mean, it can be more time consuming to leave an extra long yarn end, so I'm not sure if you want to do that. Maybe you want to join a new yarn end when you run out of the first one when sewing the underbelly on. If you don't want to join any new yarn for sewing, then I recommend leaving yarn, and that's 3 times as long as the underbelly. That's what I did, at least. So that should be long enough to sew the whole underbelly on. And also we make an invisible finish here. So I take my yarn needle and thread the yarn end on. And now I go through this stitch here of the last row. Pull that through, and then in between, I go through in between the front and back loop of the last stitch that I just made. And that's it. So now we can set this aside and it's ready for assembly. But first, let's crochet the spines. So this part that is orange here on this dragon. And so I'll be using the dark teal color for it. And we begin by making a loop. And then we make 114 chains. So you can pause the video here and do that in your own time. So now I have my very long chain, 114 chains. And so we start by making a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then we make 2 more single crochet, 1 in each of the next 2 chains. So now we have 3 single crochet in a row. Now we make 6 chains. And then 5 single crochet starting in the second chain from the hook. I'll give that a little pull, and in the next base chain here we make a slip stitch. Then we make 8 chains. And then 7 single crochet starting in the second chain. And then we make a slip stitch in the next base chain right here. Next we have 10 chains. And then 9 single crochet starting in the second chain from the hook. and a slip stitch in the next base chain. Now we make 12 chains. And 11 single crochet starting in the second chain. And a slip stitch in the next base chain. Then we have 10 chains. And 9 single crochet starting in the second chain. And give that a pull. Then slip stitch in the next base chain. Then we have 8 chains. And 7 single crochet starting in the second chain. And a slip stitch in the next base chain. Then 6 chains. And 5 single crochet starting in the second chain. And a slip stitch in the next base chain. Then we have 4 chains and 3 single crochet starting in the second chain. And now we make 4 slip stitches, so 1 in each of the next 4 base chains here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the part that goes around the tail. And now we continue crocheting the part that goes along the back. And so next we make a picot. That means we make 3 chains, and then we make a slip stitch in the 3rd chain. So 3rd chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, and here we make a slip stitch. Then we single crochet in the next chain, and then we slip stitch in the next chain. And we repeat this 10 times, so 9 more of those. Let's do one more together. A picot, so 3 chains, and a slip stitch in the 3rd chain, and then we make a single crochet in the next chain and a slip stitch in the next one. So we repeat this step 8 more times. You can pause the video here and hit play once you've done that. So now we have 10 of these little spines, and next we make 2 slip stitches, 1 and 2. Then we make the next set of spines, and so we make a picot again, so 3 chains and a slip stitch in the 3rd one. Then we single crochet in the next chain, and then we make 3 slip stitches in a row. And this we repeat 3 times. 4 times altogether, so 3 more times. So 3 chains, a slip stitch in the 3rd one, single crochet in the next chain, and then 3 slip stitches. And again a picot, single crochet, and 3 slip stitches. And one more picot, single crochet, 3 slip stitches. So now we have these 4 spines that are further apart. Next we make a picot again, and then we make a half double crochet in the next chain and a single crochet in the next. And we repeat this 4 times, so 3 more, 1 picot, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. 2 more of those, picot, half double crochet, single crochet, and once more picot, half double, and single. So that's how these spines look. Next we have a picot, then we double crochet in the next chain, and half double crochet in the next chain. And we repeat this 8 times, 7 more. So you can pause the video and hit play once you've done that. So now we have 8 of these larger spines, and now we have a picot again, so 3 chains and a slip stitch in the third one, and then we half double crochet in the next chain, and single crochet in the next, and we have 4 like this, so 3 more, a picot, and half double crochet in the next chain, and a single crochet in the next. That's 2, picot, half double, single, that's 3, picot, half double, and single, and that's 4. Next we have a picot, and then a single crochet in the next chain, and then 3 slip stitches in a row. And then we make 3 more of these, picot, single crochet, and 3 slip stitches. And again, picot, single crochet, and 3 slip stitches. And once more, picot, single crochet, and 3 slip stitches. Now we have a picot, a single crochet, and 1 slip stitch, and we repeat this 6 times, 4 more times, so you can pause the video 1 more time and hit play once you've done that. So now we have 6 of these spines again, and in my first calculation there would be 2 chains left now, in which I would have made 2 slip stitches. This time I don't have them, so I might have miscounted the 114 chains in the beginning, or I didn't count them right the first time. It doesn't really matter because it's not important. Like, it looks good like this, and it will also look good with 2 more slip stitches, or however many chains you have left, just fill them with the slip stitches and it will be fine. So now we can fasten off, and here we need a long yarn end again. I make this one maybe twice as long as this chain of spines. And that's it. So now we can set this aside for later when we assemble our dragon. So all that's left to crochet now are the legs. And so we need the main color, and we start with a magic ring. Now we make 2 single crochet in the magic ring, 1 and 2. Then we make 7 chains, and a slip stitch in the second chain. And then we make 5 single crochet, 1 in each of the remaining chains. Give that a pull. Now we single crochet in the magic ring, and we make 7 chains again. Then we do the same thing, slip stitch in the second chain, and then 5 single crochet. And a single crochet in the magic ring, and again 7 chains, a slip stitch in the second chain, and 5 single crochet. And then a single crochet in the magic ring. Then again 7 chains, slip stitch, and 5 single crochet. And now we make 2 single crochet in the magic ring, and then we have one more time 7 chains, a slip stitch in the second chain, 5 single crochet, and we finish with a single crochet in the magic ring. So then we can close the magic ring. And so apart from the toes that we made, we now have 8 single crochet in the magic ring. And in round 2, we single crochet in the back loop of each of those 8 stitches. So we start here with the first one. We just go through the back loop, Let me try this way. And we make a single crochet, then the back loop of the next single crochet, that's 2, then comes the toe, so we skip that, and in between toes there's the next single crochet, so we just go through the back loop of that one. Just try to get my hook in there. Without splitting the yarn. That's it. So third single crochet, then we have a toe again, and in between toes we have the next single crochet, and we just go through the back loop of that one, and that's 4 single crochet. Now here we have, we have again 1 single crochet in between toes, so go through the back loop and single crochet. That's 5. Here we have 2 single crochet in between toes, so we go through the back loop, single crochet, and the next back loop. That's 7, and on the other side of the last toe we have the last single crochet, so now we just go through the last back loop here, and that's 8 single crochet. So round 2 is now complete, and in round 3 we single crochet 1 in each stitch, so 8 single crochet. I just hold all the toes together to make it easier. And that's it. That's round 3 done. I'll need a stitch marker now. In round 4 we start with 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then we make a decrease. So an invisible decrease here, then 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, and then we increase in the last stitch. So our stitch count is still 8. In the next round we start with 2 single crochet, then we have a decrease, and then 3 single crochet, and an increase in the last stitch. In the next round, we start with 2 single crochet again. Then we decrease, then we have 2 single crochet, and then we increase in the last 2 stitches. So 2 single crochet in here, and 2 single crochet in the last stitch. So now we have a stitch count of 9. And now I'm starting to fill the legs with small portions of fiber fill. These small pliers are so helpful with this. You could also use tweezers if you have them. I start with this yarn end to get this out of the way. And then I'll just take tiny portions of fiber fill to fill the leg as I go. And this should be enough for now. In round 7, we start with 2 single crochet, and then we decrease, then we single crochet 3, increase in the next stitch, and single crochet in the last stitch. In round 8, we start again with 2 single crochet, and then decrease, then we have 2 single crochet, and 2 increases in a row, 1 increase, and another increase, and a single crochet in the last stitch. So here I'm going to pause again to fill the leg with some fiber fill. In the next round, we start again with 2 single crochet and decrease, then we have 3 single crochet, then an increase, and 2 single crochet. Now in round 10, we start again with 2 single crochet, then we make an increase, then 4 single crochet, a decrease, and 1 single crochet. Again, I'll add some more fiber fill. In round 11, we again start with 2 single crochet, then we make 2 increases, then 3 single crochet, a decrease, and a single crochet. In round 12, we start with 4 single crochet, then we make an increase, then we make 4 single crochet, and a decrease, In round 13, we start with 4 single crochet. Then we increase. Twice actually, 2 increases. Then we have 3 single crochet. And a decrease. Round 15 starts with a decrease. Then we have 4 single crochet. Then we have an increase. And 5 single crochet. And in round 16, we start with 5 single crochet. Then we make an increase. Then 4 single crochet. And a decrease. So the base of the leg is done now. This is the same for all 4 legs. Now for the left legs, we continue with a 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain and turn. Now we skip the first stitch here and then make a single crochet in the next one and 4 more single crochet, so 5 altogether. Then we chain and turn, and here we skip the first stitch again and make 4 single crochet, 1 in each stitch of the row. And that's it. Now we can fasten off, leaving a long enough yarn end for sewing the leg on later on. Now I'm going to crochet this flame, if we want to call it that, on the shoulder joint. And so I know in part 1 of the video I said I would use red for this, but I decided that this should be a pure water dragon. So I'm sticking with the teal color theme. So for the left legs, we join whatever color we want to use for this shoulder joint flame, I'm going to call it, with the inside of the leg facing us. So this is the left, one of the left legs. And so this is the inner side of it, since this will be the outside. And in the last stitch that we just made, that's where we join the new color. So I just go through this last stitch here and pull this new color through and make a chain. And now I make a single crochet in the same stitch. Then I'll single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Or sorry, in the next 3 stitches actually. So now we have 4 single crochet in a row. And now I'll single crochet in the side of these 2 rows, or in between rows. So going in between the last 2 rows here. In the side here, that's where I make another single crochet. And then another one beneath it in between the previous 2 rows. So here I'll make another single crochet. Then I'll make 7 chains. And we can turn the leg now. Then I'll make 6 slip stitches starting in the second chain here. Next we make a half double crochet in this stitch here, the last single crochet that we made. Half double crochet in here. Then we make 8 chains. And 7 slip stitches. Oops. Then we make a half double crochet in the next stitch here on the leg, followed by a single crochet in the next leg, in the next stitch, and then we make 6 chains and 5 slip stitches starting in the second chain. Oh, that's it, 5 slip stitches. And then we make a slip stitch in the next stitch here. And here we fasten off. There are 2 more stitches that we didn't crochet in this row. So that's meant this way. Just leaving the yarn end not too long, just long enough to stitch on this part. And so this is the left leg done. For the right legs, we continue by starting with a chain, and we turn the leg, and then we make 6 single crochet, starting in the first stitch here. Then we chain and turn. Then we skip the first stitch and single crochet in the next, and 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to the end of the row. Chain and turn. Here we skip again the first stitch, and then we make 4 single crochet in the remaining stitches. And then we fasten off, leaving a long enough yarn end for sewing the legs on. Now for the right legs, we join the color for the flames on the shoulder also in the last stitch that we just made, only that this time the outside of the leg is facing us. So the outer side of the leg is facing us, and we insert our hook in the last stitch here, join the color that we want to use for those flames, then I make a chain and a single crochet in the same stitch, and then 3 more single crochet, 1 in each stitch. Then I make a single crochet in between the last 2 rows here in the side, and another one in the next 2 rows, and then I make 7 chains. And here we can turn our work, and then we make 6 slip stitches starting in the second chain. Then in the next stitch here we make a half double crochet, and then 8 chains, and 7 slip stitches starting in the second chain, then we make a half double crochet in the next stitch here, a single crochet in the next stitch, and then we make 6 chains and 5 slip stitches starting in the second chain, And we finish with a slip stitch in the next stitch. We don't crochet in the last 2 stitches of the row here. We just fasten off, leaving a long enough yarn end to stitch on the base of this darker part here. And so we'll need 2 legs like this, 2 right legs and 2 left legs. And now all that's left to crochet are these flames here that are the knee joints. So let me show you how I made those. For this part I'm using the lighter shade, and so we start with 8 chains. Then we make 4 slip stitches starting in the second chain. Then we make a half double crochet in the next chain. Then we make 7 chains. And 6 slip stitches starting in the second chain. Then we make a half double crochet in the next base chain here. Then we make 6 chains and 5 slip stitches starting in the second chain. And a half double crochet in the last base chain here. And that's it. Then we fasten off, leaving a long enough yarn end for sewing, which doesn't need to be long. And that's it. So we need 4 of these for the knee joints. Now we can assemble our dragon. I'm going to start by sewing the gums and teeth and tongue into the mouth. So I'll need a few pins for that. And so these longer fangs go on top, and also the tongue should be facing up with the right side. So I'll just fold this in the center, and then it goes in the mouth. And I'll just pin it in place to make sure it's in the right position. So I will hide all these yarn ends before starting to sew. Now I will try to make very small stitches, alternating between the head and the gums. I try to just pick up one loop at a time. And this way I sew around here in the corner along the upper jaw. Let me just sew all the way to the corner of the mouth together with you. I'll just go through this same loop again. And then through the upper jaw. So we just want to make sure that the center of the mouth goes in that corner here. And now I'll just sew my way all around to the upper corner and to where we began. Now I've sewn all around the gums here, and I would like the seam to look neater. So now I'm just going through here, through along the seam, and I hide these little green stitches. So to do that, I'll just pick up a red loop and then go over this green stitch there and pick up the next red loop, and this way I weave the red yarn end through these red loops to cover the green ones. And this way we have a neater looking edge here. So now I've gone all around to make the gum line more even, and now I'll just make my last stitch and I'll just bring the needle somewhere to the belly here. This is just a in-between stop to help me get there. A little bit further. And this part will later be covered by the underbelly. So here I can weave in this yarn end with a few stitches. And cut this short. So next we can sew the nose and top layer of the head on. When I crocheted on camera, I used this silver color, but I changed my mind and I made one in teal as well. So this front part here with the embroidered nose goes in between the whiskers, and it should align with the front of the upper jaw, and maybe even go a bit further. So I'll pin this in place. And then it will cover the top part of the eye embroidery. And then it will cover the top part of the eye embroidery. So make sure that it looks okay from all sides. This will be stitched down, and then we can use the long yarn end for sewing together with our yarn needle. And so for this part, I'm using a different technique. So I'm going through the body the same way. I just pick up one loop as close to this piece as possible, and then I go up through the next closest stitch. So I hope you can see this V shape of the stitch here. I go up through here. Oh, and I split the yarn here, so I'm going through there as well. Then I stitch in the other direction through the next stitch. And then I find the closest loop, the nearest loop on the head. And go through that one. Then I go through the same stitch again, this time from the bottom up, and through the next stitch in the other direction. And this way I don't whip stitch over this crocheted border because I want to keep these stitches intact. I think it actually looks nicer this way. So now I find the closest loop, the nearest loop on the head, go through here, and then I go again through the same stitch up, yeah, that's the one, up, and then down through the next stitch, and find the nearest loop on the head to go through, and up through the same stitch, down through the next stitch. And this way I continue all the way to the corner. So now I reach the eye, and so here I go up through the next stitch, and now I just weave the needle through the next few stitches above the eye, and here on the other side of it I continue sewing. So here I pick up the next loop on the head and continue the same way, going through the same stitch upward, then downward through the next stitch, and through the head again, and continue this way all the way around to the other eye. Now I've reached the other eye, and so here I weave through the stitches above the eye again, and And now I'm at the corner where I first started sewing on this top layer of the face, and so now I'll just go through the head once more and then weave in the yarn end. So I'll just go through the top of the head here, and now I weave in the end on the top of the head. Now we can sew the horns on, and so they go behind this part here near the corner. So I'm using this one as the right one. So for this I just use one of the yarn ends and sew the horn on all around the base. Just make one stitch through the base of the horn and then one through the head. And then once the horn is firmly attached, I'll just thread the other yarn end and bring that through to the same spot as the first yarn end. So that I can hide the yarn ends. Just make a double knot. Cut them shorter and then I hide them with the crochet hook. And then I repeat all these steps with the other horn. Once the horns are attached, we can sew on the ears. And so the ears go underneath the horns and maybe a little behind. Something like this. Just play around with it and see what looks good to you. And with them, I just go through back and forth with a few stitches. Just one stitch through the head, and then back forward through the base of the ear, and again back through the head, and back forward through the ear, and once more through the head, and through the ear, and then I'll just weave both yarn ends in. The ears are now both attached, and so now the mane is next. Before, I just need to weave in these ends here for a little bit. So this is one of the beard strands, and I just need to weave the ends up so that I can use them to attach the beard at the base. That's the long yarn end that I'll be using for sewing. The other one I will weave in later. So now we can go ahead and pin the mane and beard in place. So the mane goes behind the horns and ears. And this here marks the center front of the beard. So I'll pin this in place in the center front of the lower jaw. And then the mane goes all around the ears and horns, and then this here is again the center front. Here the base of these two beard strands. So I'll pin this one in place as well, next to the other one. So it looks like they're both centered now. and it all seems to fit. So while sewing on the beard and the mane, we can also make a few stitches through the ears to make sure that they stay in place. So now I start with the darker part. It's already threaded on the needle. And so I'm starting here in the center front. Just finding a loop on the jaw to go through. And then I go through the base of the beard. And through the base of the beard in the other direction. And this is again so that we don't get an ugly seam. Then picking up a loop on the head, and then I go again through the base of the beard, outward, and then inward through the next chain here. And then picking up a loop on the head again. So now I've reached this lighter shade part here. And so with my next stitch, I'll go through the head to the other side. And then I'll sew this side on the same way in the other direction towards the front. So Now this part is almost done. I'll just use my last stitches to sew the front of the beard together here at the base. And then I'll just weave in the yarn ends, this one as well as this one here. The beard is sewn on now, so now I'll use the other yarn end, the one of the lighter color here, to sew on the mane. And here I'm using the same method. So I find the nearest loop on the head and go through. And then I go through the next stitch and then through the next one in the other direction. And then I find again the nearest loop on the head. And then I go through the same stitch again, this time in the other direction. And through the next stitch in the opposite direction. And then we go through the head again. So I just want to show you how I pin the ear down. So first let's attach this next stitch here. And now I go through a loop on the ear, just making sure that it is not visible on the front side. And then I just pick up a loop on the mane. And if it's still not laying flat, then I just go one loop higher. And then again through the mane. And that should help keeping the ear in place. So now I go back to sewing on the rest of the mane. So the head is done now. And so let's move on to the rest of the dragon. And so next we sew on this very long underbelly. And so I'm going to pin it in place here under the head. going along the belly, putting in some pins. And then once you're happy with the placement, you can thread this long yarn end and sew the underbelly on all around. So this is going to take a while. And I'm using the same method as before. So going through a loop on the body, then through the next stitch of the underbelly, and then through the next stitch in the other direction, and again through the body. And up through the same stitch, and through the next one in the other direction, and so on. So I'll let you do that in your own time. You can pause the video here and hit play to sew on the next part. Now the underbelly is sewn on all around, and next we will attach the spines. So this part here goes around the tip of the tail. This long part here is actually what aligns with the tip of it. So let's start here. This is how it goes around the tail, so I'll just pin it in place. And then this part goes underneath the tail on top of the tip of the underbelly here. And the rest of the spines goes along the tail and back. So I'll pin it in place and then make sure that the placement looks right. And then the end goes here behind the main. So once we have evenly pinned the spines along the back and tail, and around the tip of the tail, we can start sewing it on using the long yarn end. And so with the spines, I just go through the body sideways, and then back through the base of the spines. And again through the body. And then through the base of the spines in the other direction. So let me show you in close-up. Going through the base of the spines. And then picking up a loop on the body. And making a stitch in the other direction. And then I'll go through the next base chain of the spines. And again through the nearest loop on the body. So the spines are sewn on now. And before we sew on the legs, we can attach these little flame shapes to the knee joints. And so to do that, I just thread one of the yarn ends on a yarn needle, and I'll attach it somewhere here. So I'll go through this spot and just through to the other side. This fiber frill that comes out now, I'll just hide later on. Just bring the yarn in here. And then I'll thread the other yarn end on the yarn needle. And now I'll go through two rows below this spot to the other side, to the same spot where the other yarn end comes out of. So this is how it looks from the outer side of the leg. Now I just make a double knot with the yarn ends. Cut them short, and then I'll just hide them inside the leg. And that's it, that's one leg done. I'll repeat this with the other legs. Now, the right legs will look slightly different than the left ones, but I'm okay with that. So now we can go ahead and attach the legs. I'm going to attach them offset like I did with this dragon here. I think that makes it look more interesting, but if you prefer, you could of course attach them next to each other and then maybe find the center point. I'll attach them the same way as I did with this one. So I'll start with the left foreleg here. So this one goes here at the right side of this downward curve. So I'll use this yarn end in the main color to sew the leg on all around the base. Oh, and by the way, it is filled with fiber fill all the way to the top. So I'll just go around alternating between small stitches through the body and small stitches through the legs. Also going through the underbelly here. And here I'll go through the stitches of the last round of the leg one by one, and then catching a loop on the underbelly. Then once the leg is firmly attached, I'll weave in the yarn end. Now I'll use the other yarn ends to stitch down this part of the legs just at the base here. Only with a few stitches, and then I'll bring the yarn end somewhere to hide it. Doing the same with the other one. And this is leg number 1 sewn on. So now I'll repeat all of these steps with the other legs. Let me just show you where I place them. So the other left leg goes at the back end of the second downward curve here. And then the right legs go on the front ends of these curves. So this one right here under the neck, where I reckon the chest begins. And the other right leg goes here. And that's it. Our dragon is now complete. Thank you very much for crocheting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up for me and share this tutorial with anyone who you think might like to crochet their own dragon. And if you share your dragon on social media, if you have a public account, then please tag me at Stella's Yarn Universe so that I can give you a big thumbs up and applaud you. And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my future crochet tutorials. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I love reading them and I make sure to include them sooner or later in one of my polls. And then you all can vote for the next project, which I'm excited about already. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for choosing my patterns. Thank you for your time. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.